Our next panel, welcome Kevin, will be looking at retail investing, because after having discussed the importance really of infrastructure services, of core banking, of IT elements, and obviously also talking about regulation, which is, I guess, a hot topic in today's world, we want to put the spotlight on the consumer really. And the last panel on this stage today will be moderated by my colleague Kevin. So Kevin, welcome, and everyone else have fun. If you want to tweet, if you want to write about us, use our hashtag DigiFit21. That's it from my side, and see you tomorrow.
Kim, thanks so much for handing over the stage, indeed, for a very interesting topic for our last session, sadly for today, but I'm glad tomorrow our discussions will continue. As you said, let's have a look at the consumer side, and I think there is hardly any other topic we've seen through the pandemic, living such a boom. Basically, everyone started investing or knows someone who started investing. So I think this is really something important we should touch upon and talk about for a final conversation today. And to do so, I'm very happy to have three different experts with me, all working on the same idea, which is offering opportunities for consumers or making the entry for consumers more easily into the world of investing. That said, I'm very happy to introduce to you Christina Walker-Meyer. Christina, nice to have you. She is now CEO from Nuri, which some of you maybe know still as Bitwarder, but maybe you can touch upon this in our discussion, Christina. This will be interesting. I'm more than happy to welcome Maria. Maria is a founder of Financery, and she started the endeavor of offering investment products, especially for women. I think this is a very interesting angle I'm happy to touch upon. And last but of course not least, we have Matthias with us. Matthias is CEO of Wall Street Online, and also in this capacity also CEO of Smart Broker, probably one of the most prominent investment platforms we have in Germany today. Very, very warm welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And maybe just to kick off our discussion, what I would be interested in, and I guess many of our viewers, just tell us how you perceived the pandemic thus far, in terms of, did you see this huge rise of your customers, and also maybe did you see a slight change of customer behavior during this pandemic? And maybe to start, I would ask Christina to share her views on that issue, or in that question.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward very much to our panel. So I think, I don't know if I should say sadly, but for us, the pandemic was actually quite a big success, so to say, like from a business perspective, because in general, volatility is always good when it comes specifically around the crypto market, because this is, in the end, like our business model is based on when the customers change between the fiat world and go into the crypto world and the other way around. And I mean, this is whenever there's volatility, there's a lot of movement happening on our platform as well. So for us, this was great. However, it was not just the volatility in the movements in general, but we could also see that in general through the pandemic, maybe much more people started to invest in cryptocurrencies as well. Use it as as sort of a hedge, as a digital store of value, because also with the pandemic, there's a lot of insecurity now in general in the market, inflation, we can see the use case of Bitcoin has changed a lot over the past years, and people indeed see it more as a digital store of value. And we can totally see that as well in our numbers, that the buy and sell ratio is like way more people buy than they actually sell these days, and try to actually lock their value in cryptocurrencies. And this is something we truly benefit from.
Thanks, Christina, for this first very valuable insight. We want to dig deeper in just a few minutes, but maybe Maria, if you could share your experience, what the pandemic or the lockdown has done to your business.
We've seen it as well in a very positive way because many people, not only women, but our target group, of course, as well, had more time. They were at home. They had more time. Like you didn't go out so often. You didn't spend so much time maybe with your other interests, with your hobbies. People were able. They had the time to take care of this. So yeah, maybe a little bit more boring topic, and maybe to watch some YouTube videos, to read some books about it, to listen to some podcasts, and then, like for instance, beginning this year, so basically end of the pandemic, if you want to say so, or hopefully the end of the pandemic, there was the rise of Clubhouse, and we had so many Clubhouse talks about finances, inviting influencers, and there were like a few hundred women listening to us discussing and talking about finances. I think so that really had, like we really could see it in the last year, a complete shift. Like when we started 3 years ago, it was still a really boring topic, and the pandemic really helped us to have like this really, like it became so much more popular in Germany. So yeah, very positive.
Very interesting. More time to our hands, and maybe like get the topic of investing a bit more moved to mainstream. Matthias, do you have a similar experience or want to add to this?
Yeah, it is very similar because when we look at our business and we started fresh, so we started December 19, January 20, our business from scratch. Smart Broker is now 1.5 years old, and it's more or less. Yeah, we grow up with coronavirus, and what we have seen in the past, or let's say in that 18 months past, is really a massive growing business. So we are just talking about around 140,000 customers joining us in the last months. And what we also see, and that is very interesting, it's not really only people. What you normally say, they are more experienced. They know how exchange is working, how the equity business is working, etc. It's a good mix from people coming in. We can see that when you divide this with female ones or male ones. We can also see when you divide this with age of customers who are coming in. What is really good to see, and we are talking in Germany about equity culture. Young people coming in, so reasons are more or less named. So it is easy to access. It's not so complicated as in the past. To joining brokers, it's more or less one click, and also to place and trade, it's not more than one click. And yes, it's a kind of, it's not gamification, but it's easy to access and easy also to find good solutions, and potentially what we see also earn some additional money when you have more time and when you are at home. And when you look at special equities and trends, when you are a little bit clever, and that's what we see in our peer group, you can earn some money in addition, and that is motivation pure. And that is a good thing from Corona. And the question is, after Corona, is the situation the same, or did people stay on board, or did they change to the old environment? I guess that people will stay and continue in the way they have learned in the last 1.5 years, because they have fun.
Matthias, I think that's very interesting, especially alluding to the younger generations who became more motivated, actually tried their luck, so to say, in the markets. But coming with it, we also hear, of course, critical voices saying, "Oh, this may be too risky. There is too little guidance on the market. What about the long-term strategies? Does this, increase betting on the markets? With basically many of your users or a partial part of your users being no experts." What is your perspective on that critics, and how do you see yourself as a company being responsible, for your clients, because I guess you want to keep them.
Yeah, sure, we will keep them. And the story, is more or less GameStop. That is the one everybody is talking about. And let me look forward. When you look a little bit back and forward. So when you look in the past, it was more complicated to place an order. Sometimes we have somebody to call, or you have to place over in desktop, something else. And now we are much more deeper in a digital world when you compare that 3 or 4 years. We have mobile interfaces. We have fast desktop solutions. It is possible in every second to follow a trade, but more important, it is possible to communicate over different channels in different seconds. So independence, which channel are perfect for you. And that is also part of the game. The information, the general information, is much more faster. And for sure, it is sometimes, let's say, a little bit betting, but I'm not behind that to say, okay, trading or brokerage or investing in cryptos or equities or other asset class is betting. It is, yes, from time to time. So you will see an opportunity, say, okay, I will take that opportunity and I will spend some money at and will go or go not. But on the other hand, we will see a lot of customers really seriously investing, let's say with a midterm and long-term perspective, not really gambling. So that is really not the case. And that is also one, when you look at our, younger customers, let's say from 18 to 35, yes, from time to time, they are gambling, but most of the money is serious money. They have to save that money and really want to invest that money seriously, and want for sure. And that is the same with everybody. Everybody wants to earn more as he have. So, and it's a question, based on risk. What is your risk amount you are able to spend? And if you are clear with that, that is the truth.
I guess we all subscribe to that, trying to increase the money we have. But I think with risk profiles, this is an interesting bridge to Christina, maybe. If you have a look, because you're really pretty much focusing on crypto assets, and I think hardly a day passes by where someone, raises his or her hand in the media and, warning crypto assets. It's very volatile. Looking at your customers, are they all very extensive risk takers, or do you also see a fraction? I mean, you indicated this in the beginning, that say, okay, I believe this suits my long-term perspective.
Yeah, I think this is in general what the whole rebranding and repositioning of our company is all about, right? We actually want to take out crypto. We want to take out crypto and basically also move it out of this gambling dodgy corner, and actually also position it rather as a as a great asset that's also a great asset for a long-term strategy. Because if you crypto doesn't have this history that some stocks, for example, have, or some ETFs, for example, have, but it's really more about if you look into the history and how the asset has evolved, how the prices have evolved over the 10 years, it's the best performing asset of the past 10 years, right? So how we see it is it's a great tool. Also, it's a great add-on to your portfolio. The other day, we even had a call with a finance professor, and they ran a lot of long-term studies on it. So it's even proven now scientifically that if you add to a certain degree a bit of crypto to your portfolio, this even has a great long-term effects. So we see rather we want to position crypto a little bit in a different corner, because I also do believe stocks are as volatile if you look in between the years, right? In general, I would never recommend a more mainstream customer to actually do stock picking, because I do believe that this is gambling indeed. As we rather would probably suggest to a more mainstream customer to go rather the ETF route, I think even you can see the same thing with crypto, right? It's very volatile within the year, but if you see the development over time, this looks a little bit different. So we also rather encourage our user to treat crypto as a long-term investment. So we removed the words trading and more technical words like portfolio now completely also from our app, and rather encourage our customers to build up wealth in the longer term.
think it's very interesting, Christina, to mix it in with the perspective and with long-term strategies. Thanks for that. Maybe over to Maria. We touched upon different risk types. There are some risk takers, but a huge basis looks for long-term investment strategies. So what I would be interested in, and I guess our viewers at home, why do you see a need actually to tackle this this target group you've chosen? So maybe to enlighten us, what are the differences, and maybe what are you doing differently, to enable women to start investing in the markets?
Well, the need clearly is because so few women invest, like still in Germany, it's only like a 13%. And this, given the high rise of attention and the trend of investing we have seen for the last year. So there are more and more women investing, which is really a positive development, but there's still so few women who invest and become more like from a purpose perspective. Like we are not maybe a typical fintech in the sense of that we are developing technology like maybe Christina's companies is doing it and going forward like in new technologies and new innovations, but we are more kind of like looking forward to encourage our target group to empower women to become financially savvy. Like our background is old age poverty and the risk of old age poverty. So we want to provide a solution here, and we are definitely going for more stable and long-term investing. And so it's more like a different direction we build our company upon. And it's more the question about purpose than maybe technological innovation. And how we target our target group, it's basically we just listen to them. So we try to understand the questions, we try to answer the questions, we provide easy access information, easy access guidance, easy access explanations, maybe in their language, maybe in their words, and we provide more the full service aspect. So that we really try to understand our customers and to provide a very unique service really designed for them. And I think a different type of target group maybe would go then to smart broker, someone who's maybe already like feeling more comfortable choosing their own assets, their own investment targets. And we are more coming from the service point, from the purpose point, and more like offering everything so that you don't have to worry about it.
So if I get you right, so it's less about offering maybe different products, but to start a step earlier, how to actually activate the idea or the importance of taking care of the finances, basically, which I think is very interesting. I think it's super important that we close this gap, but maybe to widen discussion now. So what we've seen thus far is, okay, the pandemic did something. We got more time. We maybe took the time, to take care of our finances. But if we look at Germany, I wouldn't necessarily argue that investing has hit the nail and it's mainstream already. So maybe what are your ideas, and maybe Maria, from your learnings from building your venture, what have companies to do, to close the value action gap, so to say? I know finances are important, but the other thing is to actually do something about it. So maybe what intelligence can you share with your fellow competitors on the stage, so to say?
Well, yes, there's really some positive development, but we're still not in a mass market. We're still not, investing is not become normal yet, but I think we are on a really good way. And we are just like, as I said before, we are listening to our customers. We are trying to develop our service, like the user interface, especially in a very intuitive way. We are trying to maybe go like maybe we choose marketing channels which are not that typical for a fintech. And like, for instance, we have a lot of collaborations with influencers who maybe are known better in the fashion world, in the beauty world, which is maybe not the typical finance topic. So really we go there where our target group is. And we try to make it more accessible and really intuitive and easy to use, so that you don't stumble upon so many technical questions, and maybe to make investing a little bit more sexy. because especially like 1.5 years ago, I would say 2 years ago, finances was so boring to most women, and hardly anyone wanted to talk about finances. And I think there we really was some really well-known influencers. We opened a discussion, and as soon as you open the discussion, when you then offer a really easy to use solution, you win your customers.
It's super interesting, Maria. Maybe over to Matthias. What are your takeaways if you're listening to Maria, or what are your plans or ideas, of closing the value action gap and actually get more people into the field of investing and helping that to become financially more savvy?
Yeah. So I guess one point is important that Maria mentioned. We are talking about finance, so that has really changed over the last 2 years, and that is really, I guess, a big advantage what we see when we compare that to the past. On the other hand, we see that when you, for example, look for a moment into that German households financials, we know from the central bank, we talk about 7 trillion market right now what we have out there, and we talk about a 6% growth rate per annum, and that is something when you compare that with inflation, with negative interest rates and all that stuff. People have to take care on their financials, and also when you compare that to kind of international average size, we can see, and that is nothing new for sure, that the Germans are really far behind. Around 15 to 17%. When you compare that to the US or to Sweden, for example, that's around 48 to 50% of the population who really investing in financial products. So and that has to be changed. It is starting early, so it's nothing what we can do, but it's a kind of education at school, at study, so to give more glance what the financial markets and possibilities are. And right now, it is right now to really bring financial service in an easy way. So it's not, when you compare that to, let's say, old banks or competitors, let's say they are 15, 20, 25 years old, it's not the way that customer really wants to have right now. So it must be, easier. And when you bring that together, it's a kind of fun to work on the financial markets. And for sure, you need education. You need a little bit guidance. You need informations and a kind of interest based on a personal way. But when you combine all that stuff, I'm sure that people will grow, that your population will grow, and we not step back in the year to 18 or to 17. I'm sure that people stay, and more people will come and will enter the German execution brokerage market, independent which product or which service they are searching.
Thanks, Matthias. Maybe over to Christina. I mean, Matthias just raised a few points. What is your perspective in terms of what is your responsibility or your task as a company to change this mindset? As you just heard, Germany is not like leading in terms of retail investing, and maybe also to add what needs to be changed. Education was one of the examples, but maybe just like what are you trying to do to change the mindset or trigger something with your potential customers?
Yeah, I mean, how we see it is basically, look, the situation has changed, right? As you said, we're a nation in general, probably in Europe, we're really used to savings. And like suddenly the way of putting money aside suddenly was taken away from us because there's no interest anymore. So, and then there was maybe the Deutsche Telekom stock back in the days. That was maybe the first entry and the first touch points for the majority of people actually with stocks in general, but it still haven't really arrived in our mainstream. So that means that I think it's also a bit a question of the media, how we actually talk about investment, right? Because I also have the feeling that often in mainstream media, investments, and specifically like Bitcoin investments, for example, they're always put in a in a very, very negative corner. And we talk a lot about the risks and the volatility, but we actually miss also to talk about the opportunity. And I think what I would rather encourage is a conversation which is indeed talking about the risks and informing and educating and guiding about them, but on the other side also give a more neutral evaluation also about the opportunity. So that being said, I also believe that in general, yes, education and guidance are very key, because you have a group of people that indeed go in and they want to gamble, right? And they enjoy doing that. They try to beat the market, they read. But if you're very honest, that's the smaller part of the, let's say, more mainstream target group. Most of the people actually don't want to deal with their finances. And back in the day, you just did one bank transfer to your bank, a savings account, and that's it. No risk, decent 4%. So, and now suddenly you want them to actually read financial blogs, read financial books, listen to podcasts. That's a lot of time investment, and most people don't want to deal with it. So I think education and guidance somehow needs to happen in the product itself. So this is something that we have learned, because people, yes, they download a financial app, but then they don't want to, have the whole burden of like reading books. So somehow this needs to happen in the app. And then I think also to add on Maria's point, we also see like female target groups tend to have a slightly different strategy. They want to be more prepared. They want to like understand it, and then they do something, and then they don't want to deal with it for the rest of the year. Maybe it's a very different approach than maybe more male target groups. I don't want to say that all men invest like that, but tend rather to do something, and then they don't want to check their portfolio, and they want to be more active with it. Even though we see also more and more men tending rather what we call to have a female strategy. So that's why I don't want to call it like a gender-based strategy. And I think we need to inform about that. Why is it better to invest on a recurring basis? What is dollar cost averaging, and why is it even great to buy the ups and downs, so I don't have to deal even to worry about volatility? Because if I do it on a recurring basis, it's great for me and I save cost in the end. What is the compounding effect, and why it's great if I start to invest with 50 euros a month, because through the compounding effect over the long period of time, I actually can create wealth. And I think these are all things that we learned are the questions that people have, because they think the majority truly thinks it's too late. I need to have a lot of money to start. And I think this is where we need to start to educate them.
Thanks, Christina. I think that was a long list of where we can improve, and I just want to take up one question coming from the channel live here, because it says why aren't we talking about mass participation in retail investing as the title suggested? I think we could agree on that. We aren't there, but this is something actually we would like to see. And as we are running out of time, I just would like to give you a yes or no question to wrap this up and tackle some aspects later. Now the markets are developing quite good. Do you think the interest we have currently in ventures as yours will prevail once the markets drop again? So if we hit another bear market, or are you positive that the interest in the financial markets will keep growing? Brief positive yes, or slightly more negative no? Maybe to start with you, Christina.
I think, crypto is not necessarily following the same trends as like shares and stocks. And that's why I think a combination of both is a good hedge, because if one goes up, the other can go down, and they're not necessarily following each other. I think right now they do. But I think last year, for example, when all the stock prices, the ETF prices dropped, we could see the crypto price going up. So I think it's always good to have a balance, like to diversify the portfolio, because then you can also make sure that you can win either way.
That was a nice workaround. I'm afraid I have to briefly join the other stage with my colleague Fabian in a couple of seconds. So Maria, Matthias, really just yes or no, and I won't kneel down on it if we talk in a couple of years again on this issue, I promise.
A clear yes, because we are addressing half of the population, and that's simply a clear yes.
Yeah, and for me also a clear yes. So it's not a question of bear and bull market. So people have to understand that they have to invest and know challenges and chances.
Christina, Maria, Matthias, thank you so much for a final panel discussion on this day. I hope I will see you tomorrow in the audience. But for today, thanks for joining us, enlightening us, and working, I think, on a very promising and important topic for the future. That said, have a great evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.